Okay, so we're diving into a paper today from Neuroscience and Biobehavioral Reviews. And it's got me thinking, like really thinking, what if communication is like the secret sauce of intelligence?
Now, that's an intriguing question, and you're right, this paper really digs into that. Federated Inference and Belief Sharing, that's the title, and let me tell you, it takes us on a wild ride.
I am here for the ride. You know how I am. Anything about how we understand the world, especially when we're talking collective brain power, I'm all ears. So hit me with it. What's the core concept?
At its heart, this paper is exploring how individuals, whether we're talking birds in a flock or, say, AI agents in a simulation, can actually be smarter than they are alone just by, sharing what they know.
Okay, yeah, makes it. I mean, two heads are better than one, right? But this is like next level stuff, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It goes way beyond just pooling information. It gets into how sharing beliefs, those individual beliefs, can actually create this more accurate and robust, even understanding of the world. And the paper uses active inference to explain this.
Active inference. Okay, that sounds familiar, but give me a refresher.
Sure. So imagine you've got this mental model, right, of how the world works, a set of beliefs that guide your actions. Active inference says you're always using this model to make predictions. Then, based on what actually happens, you tweak those beliefs. It's a loop.
So, like, if I predict that hitting snooze again will make me more rested, but then, bam, reality check, I'm late for work again.
Exactly. And through that experience, you refine your understanding of, well, sleep, time management, maybe even the irresistible allure of the snooze button.
Ouch, a little too real there. But I see your point. So, how does communication come in? How does it make this whole process even better?
Think about a group of friends, right, trying to solve a puzzle. Each person only has a few pieces. Now, if they share what they see, the shapes, colors, if those pieces might connect, suddenly they're building a much more complete picture. That's the power of bringing those perspectives together.
You know, it's making me think of those nature shows, like with flocks of birds dodging a hawk or something. Even if each bird only sees a tiny bit of the sky, they move as one.
And that right there is actually one of the things they modeled, these researchers. They
Ah.
created this virtual world where agents had limited senses, just like a bird with its field of vision.
Okay, cool. So how do they actually simulate this whole belief sharing thing? Were these agents having little chats about what they were seeing?
Well, it was more like exchanging signals, but the principle's the same. They allowed these agents to share their limited observations, and, you ready for this? The ones who communicated were way more accurate in tracking a moving target.
No way. So even with those limitations, they got better at understanding their little digital world just by communicating.
You got it. And get this, the paper found that those agents who communicated, they were a whopping 60% more accurate in tracking the target compared to those who only had their own limited view. 60%. That's a huge difference.
Oh, okay. That's way more of an impact than I would guess. So we're
Excellent.
not just saying communication's helpful. It's almost like it's like fundamental to making sense of the world, at least in this model.
And it gets even more wild when we start to think about how this need to share what we know, it might have actually driven the emergence of language itself.
Whoa, hold on a sec. Are we really saying that language itself popped up because we needed to share what we knew? That's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah, it might sound kind of out there, but that's what these researchers wanted to explore. Could language just emerge organically from this need to, be on the same page about the world to make sure everyone's got a solid understanding? They call it self-evidencing.
So how do you even go about simulating something as intricate as language, like actually evolving in a computer program?
Well, they started by giving their agents this basic toolkit of signals, think like symbol sounds, gestures, that sort of thing. And at the beginning, it was pretty random, but these agents, they could learn. They figured out which signals were best at getting information across, helping them hit their goals.
So it's like a big game of charades, but the agents are making up the rules as they go.
You got it. Imagine one figures out that a certain chirp means, hey, food over here. If the others catch on and boom, everyone eats, that chirp, that's going to spread like wildfire.
Survival of the fittest, but for words, I kind of like it. Okay, but still, it's hard to imagine those little chirps turning into, well, us talking about all this complex stuff.
Right, so get this, they thought about that too. They introduced a new agent, a child agent, totally clueless about the parent agent's language. This little guy could only observe, see what the parent did, and the signals they used.
Like a baby bird learning the right songs from his parents. Cute. But did it work? Did this little digital bird brain actually learn to talk?
It sure did. By just watching and, interacting, the child agent, it cracked the code. It figured out those signals, and eventually it could actually talk back, communicate properly with the parent.
No way. That's incredible.
Yeah.
We're talking about AI that learns, talks, makes its own language, all because it wants to make sense of the world together. It's like straight out of sci-fi, but it's happening right now.
Oh, it's super exciting stuff, and we're just scratching the surface, really. The possibilities are huge. Imagine AI that learns from each other, tackles these complex tasks as a team, even changes how it talks depending on who it's dealing with.
AI assistants would be completely different then, right? No more just pre-programmed stuff. They'd be learning on the fly, adapting.
Exactly. Think about robots like in disaster zones, working together, sharing what they find, and changing plans as things change. Or self-driving cars that talk to each other, making traffic flow smoothly, avoiding accidents. It'd be a whole new ballgame.
It's almost like we're moving from like single-player AI to this massive multiplayer mode. But if they're always learning, coming up with new languages, how do we keep up? Won't they just end up speaking some AI gibberish we can't understand?
That's a really important question, and researchers are definitely aware of it. But here's the good news. Even though these agents develop their own languages, it's not totally random.
What do you mean? I thought they could just invent whatever sounds or signals they wanted.
They can, but here's the thing. The language still has to be rooted in their world, in what they're actually trying to do. Think about it. Human languages, we've got tons of them. They all sound different, but there are these basic structures that are the same. That's because we're all trying to talk about the same stuff, like objects, actions, relationships, the basics.
So you're saying even if AI goes off and creates its own lingo, there's still some logic there. We could figure it out.
Exactly. There's these built-in constraints because the language has to reflect reality. It has to match up. We'd be like code breakers trying to crack a new language, but it wouldn't be impossible.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about like AI going rogue with its own secret language and, taking over the world.
Well, I can't promise those Hollywood scenarios won't ever happen, but this research really points to communication being strongest when everyone's on the same page. The AI, it will be most successful when it gets us, and we get it.
Makes sense. What's the point of super smart AI if it can't even tell us what it's found in a way we understand? It's like that old saying, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there.
Precisely. And that leads us to one of the most fascinating parts of all this. The idea that communication, it's not just about spitting out information, it actually shapes knowledge itself.
Okay, now you're just messing with me. How can simply talking about something change what we know?
Think about it. When we put thoughts into words, suddenly we have to make them make sense to someone else, right? We have to organize them, test them out, see if people get what we're saying. That whole process, that back and forth, it sharpens our thinking, makes our understanding of the world clearer, more sophisticated.
So it's not just about speaking our minds. It's like the act of speaking actually changes our minds in the process.
Wow, that's powerful. And it changes how we see intelligence altogether.
Right,
We're
right.
moving away from this lone genius idea, someone toiling away alone, and toward this collaborative view. Knowledge, it's created and refined through dialogue, through interaction.
This whole idea of collaborative intelligence, it's really making me rethink how we learn and evolve as a species.
Yeah.
It's like we're wired to share what we know, and in doing so, we actually expand our collective knowledge.
Precisely. This research suggests that communication isn't just a byproduct of intelligence, it's an essential ingredient. It's the engine that drives the evolution of knowledge, both within and across generations.
It's like that saying, none of us is as smart as all of us. Except now, it feels less like a catchy phrase and more like a fundamental truth about how intelligence itself works.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are the implications for how we approach education, collaboration, even just everyday conversations?
It's mind-blowing.
Sure.
I'm already starting to see the world differently. Every time I have a conversation, read a book, or even scroll through my social media feed, I'm participating in this incredible exchange of information and perspectives.
And that exchange is constantly shaping our understanding, refining our models of the world, and pushing the boundaries of what we collectively know.
It's both humbling and empowering at the same time. Humbling because it reminds us that we don't have all the answers, but empowering because it shows that we don't have to. We have each other.
And that's the beauty of this research. It doesn't just shed light on the mechanics of communication. It reveals the profound interconnectedness of knowledge, language, and the very act of thinking.
It's like we're all nodes in a vast network. And every interaction, every exchange of ideas strengthens the connections and expands the network's reach.
And that network isn't static. It's constantly growing, evolving, and adapting. That's the exciting part. We're not just passive recipients of information, we're active participants in shaping the future of knowledge.
So the next time I'm tempted to scroll past a thought-provoking article or disengage from a challenging conversation, I'm going to remind myself that I'm not just missing out on information, I'm missing an opportunity to contribute to this incredible, ever-evolving tapestry of understanding.
That's the spirit. And who knows what amazing insights we might uncover when we embrace this collaborative approach to knowledge. This research is really just the beginning, a glimpse into the vast and uncharted territory of distributed intelligence.
Well, this deep dive has definitely left me with a lot to think about. It's amazing how a paper that started with birds evading predators has opened up such profound questions about the nature of intelligence, communication, and what it means to be human in a connected world.
And that, my friend, is the power of a deep dive. We started with a single research paper, and look where we ended up. It's a reminder that the most profound journeys often begin with a single step, a spark of curiosity, a willingness to explore the unknown.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
This has been an incredible exploration. To our listeners, keep those minds curious, those questions coming, and keep sharing what you know with the world. You never know what incredible discoveries might emerge from those conversations.